My name is Tiffany Seared, and I'm 33 years old. Your sister gets sick every time she sees your face, Mom said. Pack your things tonight. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I didn't even ask why because deep down I already knew. In our house, everything had always revolved around my sister. Her moods, her needs, her fragile emotions, and me? I was just there, the extra piece no one really wanted, but didn't know how to throw away until that night. I stood there for a second, staring at Mom, trying to see if there was even a hint of hesitation in her eyes. There wasn't. Behind her, my sister sat on the couch, wrapped in a blanket like she was the victim of something terrible. She wouldn't even look at me. Dad stayed silent as usual, pretending this was all normal. Pack your things. Tonight, Mom repeated, colder this time. So I did. I went to my room, the same room I had grown up in, the same walls that had heard me cry more nights than I could count. I grabbed one bag. Not two, not three, just one, because something inside me snapped, quietly and completely. If they could throw me out like I was nothing, then I would leave like I needed nothing. I picked up one bag and left without a word. No goodbye, no looking back. The door closed behind me with a soft click, but it felt louder than anything I'd ever heard, like the final sentence of a story that had already been written long before I was ready to read it. The first night was the hardest. I sat in my car for hours, parked under a dim streetlight, staring at my phone. No messages, no calls, nothing. Part of me expected at least Dad to reach out. Maybe say, this went too far. Maybe tell me to come back. But nothing came. So I drove. I ended up at a cheap motel on the edge of town. The kind of place you don't ask questions about. And they don't ask you any either. I paid for a few nights, dropped my bag on the bed, and just sat there in silence. It was strange. I thought I'd feel broken. I thought I'd cry, scream, fall apart. But instead I felt empty. Like someone had finally removed a weight I didn't even realize. I'd been carrying my whole life. Day 1 passed, then day 2. For 7 days, not one call. I started to notice things I hadn't before. How quiet life could be without constant tension. How peaceful it felt to wake up without walking on eggshells. No accusations, no guilt. No comparisons to my sister. By day 3, I stopped checking my phone every 5 minutes. By day 4, I stopped expecting anything at all. I found a small cafe nearby and started spending my mornings there. Coffee, a notebook, and silence. For the first time in years, I could actually hear my own thoughts. And what surprised me the most was this. Those thoughts weren't angry. They weren't even sad. They were clear. I started writing things down. Not about them, but about me. What I wanted. What I had ignored for years just to keep the peace at home. And slowly, something began to shift inside me. By day 5, I realized something uncomfortable. Maybe getting kicked out wasn't the worst thing that had ever happened to me. Maybe it was the first honest thing my family had ever done. Because now there was no pretending left. No false smiles. No fake, we care about you. Just the truth, laid bare in the most brutal way possible. And somehow that truth felt freeing. Still, a small part of me waited. Not because I needed them, but because I wanted to see if they would ever realize what they had done. Day 6 passed in complete silence. No calls, no messages, nothing. By day 7, I had already made a decision. I wasn't going back. No matter what. Because if someone can throw you away that easily, you don't go back when they change their mind. You don't wait around to be discarded again. That night, I sat on the edge of the motel bed, staring at my phone one last time before turning it off completely. And that's when it happened. The screen lit up. An incoming call. Dad. I looked at it. And didn't move. Then it stopped. A second later, another call. Mom, then again. And again. Then my sister. I let it ring. The phone kept lighting up like it was trying to pull me back into a life I had already walked away from. Dad. Mom. My sister. Over and over again. I let it ring. At first, it felt powerful. Like I was finally in control of something that had controlled me my entire life. But as the calls kept coming, something else crept in. Not guilt, not weakness. Clarity. Because now they were calling. Now, after 7 days of silence, after throwing me out like I was nothing, I picked up my phone, stared at the screen, and let it buzz in my hand until it stopped again. Then, for the first time, a message came through. From Mom. Please pick up. It's urgent. I almost laughed. Urgent? It hadn't been urgent when she told me to pack my things. It hadn't been urgent when I spent nights alone in a motel, trying to figure out what my life even looked like without them. But now it was urgent. Another message. This time from Dad. We need to talk, please. Need. Not want. Need. That word hit differently. Then finally my sister. I'm sorry. I froze. Those 2 words. They were rare. Too rare. My sister had never apologized to me, not once. Not for the lies, not for the manipulation, not for the way she twisted everything until I was always the problem. And now suddenly, sorry? Something wasn't right. The phone rang again, Mom. This time, I answered. I didn't say anything at first. I just listened. Tiffany? Tiffany, please don't hang up. Mom's voice came rushing through, shaky, almost panicked. Silence. Then Dad's voice in the background, louder than usual. Put it on speaker. I could hear movement, tension. Something breaking in the background of that house I had just left behind. What happened? I asked, calm. Too calm. There was a pause. A long one. Then Mom spoke again, but her voice had changed. It wasn't cold anymore. It wasn't controlling. It was desperate. We made a mistake. I closed my eyes. There it was. Not an explanation. Not an excuse. A mistake. But I didn't respond. Mom started, then stopped. My sister's voice suddenly cut in, shaky and nothing like the confident tone she always had. I told them to say that. I said you were making me sick. I said I couldn't handle being around you. I already knew that. But then she said something I didn't expect. I lied. Silence filled the call. I wasn't sick because of you, she continued. I just didn't want you there anymore. I didn't like that you were starting to stand up for yourself. I didn't like that Mom and Dad were finally listening to you sometimes. So I made it worse. I exaggerated everything. My grip on the phone tightened. 7 days. 7 days of silence. And now the truth just spills out like it's nothing. Dad spoke next, his voice heavy. We didn't know. We thought, you didn't want to know, I cut in. That stopped him. Because that was the truth they didn't want to admit. It was easier to believe I was the problem than to question her. It always had been. Mom started crying softly. Please come back. We'll fix this. We'll make things right. Fix. Right. Words that sounded good, but felt empty. I looked around the small motel room. The plain walls, the single bag sitting by the chair, the quiet. For the first time in my life, I felt like I had space to breathe. You kicked me out, I said slowly. You didn't even hesitate. We were wrong, Dad said quickly. We'll make it up to you. I let out a small breath. That's the thing about people who break. They always think it can be fixed with the right words at the right time. But timing matters. And theirs had already passed. I'm not coming back, I said. Silence. Heavy, crushing silence. Mom's voice broke. Tiffany, please. No, I said, firmer this time. You don't get to throw me away and then call me back when it's convenient. My sister started crying again, but it didn't move me the way it used to. Because now I could see it clearly. All of it. I hope you figure things out, I continued. I really do. But I'm done being the easiest person to blame. Dad tried one last time. At least let us help you. I don't need help, I said. Not from people who only see my value when I'm gone. And with that, I hung up. No hesitation. No second thoughts. Just done. I sat there for a moment, staring at the now silent phone. And then something unexpected happened. I smiled. Not because it didn't hurt, but because for the first time, the hurt didn't control me. The next morning, I checked out of the motel. Not because I had somewhere perfect to go, but because I was finally ready to move forward. On my own terms. And that's the part they'll never understand. They thought kicking me out would break me. But all it did was set me free,